Hello, welcome to the Tejedora Knitting Podcast. My name is Gladys. I am a knitter and crafter based out of Southern Nevada, and welcome to my very first classic podcast episode. You know, the finished projects, the works in progress, all the yarny thoughts. So welcome. I'm so happy to have you, and let's get started. First, I'll mention what I am wearing. So this is actually a tank pattern turned into a vest. This is the Audrey top by Suri Nordland. So just a good stockinette tank. I adapted it to be a winter vest. I had 2 skeins of fingering weight tweed from WitchFire fibers from a mystery pack. So I decided to do stripes. So this is the color copper, I believe. Maple. I'm so sorry. The color is maple, and the rusty color is called Lucky Penny. I was losing urine chicken quite a bit, so I had to improvise, and all the edging, I guess like the ribbing, is in Knitting for Olive chocolate mohair. The color is called chocolate. This is mohair held, 3 strands of mohair held together. So overall, I think it turned out quite well. So now we will get into finished objects. So I am filming this on February 1st, so for finished objects, I'm just going to include everything that I finished in the month of January. So I have 3 finished objects to talk about. So let's start with the first one. First, I have a beanie that I made for my son. So this is the Musselburgh hat, or Musselburgh Beanie by Isolde Teague. So it's a really nice gaugeless hat pattern. Very nice in the sense that you can have a lot of control and just make things in your stash work. So I used exactly 100 grams of fingering weight yarn. This is a sock yarn from Purl Soho. It is called Fine Print, and I made it 2-tone. So I have like this denim-y blue color, which is called Blue Feather, and then more of like a turquoisey blue that's called Peacock. So, you know, it's a reversible hat depending on where he wants to wear it. He prefers to have this side out with the brim like this. So I used 2.75 millimeter needles, and like I said, it was a fingering held single. So you do the increases per the pattern, and once you finish or get close to finishing the increases, you can count how many stitches you have per inch, and from there that'll tell you your gauge, and it'll tell you, you know, how to knit the rest of the hat. It's knit in like a big tube, so just like this, like a big old pill. I think this is too long to be a pill, but yeah, that's the concept of it. And then you kind of fold it up, and you can add a brim, no brim, you know, it's just very customizable, which is very nice. And this was actually my Christmas cast on. I cast it on, you know, for Christmas, and I finished it quite quickly. It took me 19 days, so I finished it on January 12th. This is the size adult medium. So my son's head was measuring just on par for the adult small, or like the children's size, but he grows so quickly and we're already at the tail end of winter, so I wanted to make sure it fits him for the next year. So I decided to go for the adult medium, and it was perfectly fine. It's not super tight on him, like sucks in tight, but it's not so loose to where he can't wear it. So this is perfect. And I got the yarn on sale, so total cost for this project was $12, which I think is wonderful. So this was my first project, a good little stockinette mindless knit. My next project is a Stockholm vest. It has the creases from being held. So the pattern is the Stockholm vest from Petite Knit, but the yarn is the star of the show here. This is Boucle DK. I believe she calls it Trinket DK from WitchFire fibers, and this is from her WitchFire collection. This colorway is called Witchwood. So it is the darkest olive color. Ugh, I love olive. I am a very autumnal color person. So this just spoke to my soul. It's like I have to have it. So it is a boucle. So it has like that beautiful texture. So I needed a simple pattern to help it shine. So I originally wanted it to be with like 0 or maybe even a little bit of negative ease. I didn't want it to be oversized. So I had sized down to the size 1. I have a 34-inch bust. However, my issue is that I have a smaller than normal rib cage. So there's not too much of a difference between my upper bust and my full bust, but there is a very big difference from full bust to under bust. So with that, the waist can sometimes just bag up too much material, which is why I don't tend to go for super positive ease. I don't like a ton of positive ease. So this one, the size that the pattern indicated for me was a 2, but I decided to go down to a size 1 to help with that. I wanted less of that positive ease. The recommended needle size was also quite big, in my opinion. I think it was calling for a 5 or 4.5. I'll put it somewhere here, but it was either 4.5 or 5 because I ended up sizing down to a size 4mm needle. I'm not sure what happened because once I was like a little bit further down by the arm construction, it was huge. It was like so big. I was like, what happened here? I thought I had hit gauge. I swatched and blocked and everything. So I had to make some modifications to it. So let me go over all the modifications that I did. First, it is ribbing. It's supposed to have ribbed finishings, and I feel like that just wasn't going to look, you weren't going to be able to appreciate that with the boucle. So I did I-cord. I did an applied I-cord for the neckline, an applied I-cord for the armholes, and then an I-cord bind off for the bottom. So very clean finishes. And then what I did is I went back and ripped to the join and took out all of the stitches that were in the underarms, which was, when I say total, like at least 16 stitches. Because again, it was just too big and I didn't want it that big. And even then, it still has a little bit of positive ease. I ended up with a 39-inch bust, which was giving me still 5 inches of positive ease. So it's perfectly fine, but I'm not sure what happened with the gauge or if it's like the nature of working with boucle. But overall, I loved it. Loved it. It only used 182 grams of yarn. You do get a lot of yardage from the boucle. So overall, I love this project. And this one took me 30 days. I cast this on December 21st and finished it on January 19th. So just almost exactly a month. I guess 30 days, we can call it a month. And the cost for this project was $64. So that was my second one. And then my third finished project. Oof, she's a beauty. I love all my finished projects. But this is let me try to zoom back. Here we go. That's a little bit better. This is the Acorn Pullover by Sari Nordland. So it is a lace pattern. So you can see she named it the Acorn Pullover because she thought the little lace repeats looked like acorns. So I wanted something that wasn't stockinette. So I found this lace one and it was a bit intimidating at first. This is my very first lace project. I just started knitting in 2024. So I'm still a beginner, but I'd say a very adventurous beginner. I don't like plain stockinette. I need at least stripes or a fine yarn, or I need something to make it interesting for me. So this is a drop shoulder construction. So you cast on in the back, you create the increases for that like trapezoid, you add the front pieces, a classic drop shoulder. The yarn that I used for this is Aran Woollen Mills. They're super soft merino. Aran Woollen Mills is a Irish Aran sweater company. So I bought a beautiful cabled cardigan from them during their Black Friday sale. And they sell the yarn that they use to make their sweaters as well. So I picked up a sweater's quantity of yarn. Super affordable. So it was 20% off. So I ended up getting each skein for $12. And I used 5 skeins. Well, I bought 5 skeins, so that was $60. However, I used exactly 400 grams. So I have a full 100 gram skein left over. So I ended up going for size, I keep on like trying to hold it up over here. But I ended up going for a size 2 in this one, which originally says that the finished bust circumference was supposed to be 40 centimeters. However, I ended up with a little bit less. I ended up, I believe, with 38 inches, which gives me 4 inches of positive ease. And honestly, this is like the perfect amount of positive ease for me. Anywhere from like 2 to 6 inches is great for me, even as much as 8, but much more than 8, like 10 inches of positive ease is a little bit too much for me. I did use a larger needle size. Recommended is 3.5 millimeters, and I ended up going for a 3.75. So I'm glad I did that. I probably should have sized up to a 4. But I feel like just measuring gauge for pattern or textured knits is really hard. I try my best, but I don't know. I probably didn't do the best. I'm sure my gauge is off somehow. but counting stitches over patterns is not something that I'm great at. So overall, I did make a couple of mistakes because it is my very first time, but I feel like they're definitely not noticeable. I think right here, you know, that they're supposed to be alternating. And when I was joining in the round underneath the arms, I think I was just completely off in the pattern, which is definitely a me problem. It is not the pattern, but I didn't want to go like rip back and fix it. And I was like, it's fine. So you can see that they're not offset how they should be. And here in the back, there is one little row. If I can even find it, I don't even think it's noticeable. Oh yes, it's right here where I kind of had to add in some little purl bumps to kind of get back on track for the pattern. Overall, I don't think it's noticeable, especially because it's a bit of a darker color. Another modification that I did is neckline. I don't like having things next to my neck. I think it's like a sensory issue. I don't do turtlenecks, mock necks, halter necks, choker necklaces, anything that's tight against my neck. Absolutely not. I'm not having it. So this is a folded over collar, and I decided to I did half of the length. Almost every single pattern I've done, I always do the neckline half or even less than half of what is recommended. Because again, it's not happening. So it is a folded over neckline, which makes it nice and squishy. And I do appreciate the extra airflow that the lace provides because I overheat very quickly. I do not do the best job of regulating my body temperature, and I run very warm, and I live in a not cold climate. I live in a desert. It's blistering hot in the summertime, and it is fresh, cool in the winter. I don't know. People in Las Vegas love to complain about the weather. It's either too hot or too cold. I'm thriving right now in the wintertime. So I try to be mindful of the thickness and, what fiber content and pattern types I choose to make sure it's actually realistic for me to use. As much as I love the process of knitting, I also want to take into account the finished product and make sure it's usable. I don't know if I mentioned this is a DK weight. So overall, love this. I'm so excited to wear this. Okay, so those are all three of my finished objects. So now I'll move into my works in progress. So I have 3 works in progress on the needles. So I'll start with the small one. I have a pair of socks. So I'm still working on the first sock. Let me see how it's best to show you. Here we go. So I have the cuff, finished the heel, and now I'm working on the foot of the sock. So this is a really fun sock pattern. They're called the Soma Socks from Summerly Knits. It's from her sock project book. So it has this like faux cable. This is all made with knits and purls. There's no actual cables or anything like that. So it's like a little faux cable along the edge. And then it has Andalusian texture here on the front, and then just stockinette for the back. So I am making this with Woolberry Fiber Co. Berry sock, I believe. So this is a BFL, Blueface Lancaster blend with the nylon. It is not as soft as Merino. So I couldn't wear this next to skin like on a garment, but for socks, I think it's wonderful. And I got a mystery pack of this sock yarn, and I've already made 2 pairs of socks, and they've been holding up really well and washing really well. So this is my sock project. This one I started, let's see. I keep track of everything in my little yarn journal. This is the Yarn Enthusiast Journal from Knit California. So I started these socks on January 15th. So it's been about 2 weeks so far. This is like my travel project or things like, it's not my main project, so I'm not in any rush. So next I will move on to my little accessory knit, and I have already finished one of them. Let me put it on to show you guys. So I'm making a pair of fingerless mitts. These are the Polymnia Mitts from Sari Nordlund, again from her book, Softly Timeless Knits. These are just, look at them, they're so beautiful. They have this beautiful little cable detail here in the front. This is the first time I've done detailed cables this intricate. I've done very basic cables in my other project that I'm going to show you, but this really challenged me, I'll be honest, but I love it. The yarn that I'm using is Witchberry no, sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm mixing the names. WitchFire fiber. Look at this, this is just stunning. This is from her WitchFire collection that she had in the autumn. And I am holding one strand of her non-superwash organic merino in fingering and one strand of her Suri alpaca lace. It's called her classic Suri base. This is my favorite Suri of all the indie dyers that I have ever tried because it has a little bit of cashmere in it. I have my little label tucked in here. So the composition is 53% baby alpaca, 34% silk, and 13% cashmere. And the colorway is called Clove. So this is just spicy goodness. I love this so much, so much. I can't say how much I love this. So I'm working on my second one. I am almost halfway there. So some details about this. This pattern is supposed to go almost all the way up to your elbow. I didn't want mine to be that long, so I decided to make a bit of a modification here. I did remove 2 sets of ribbing, again, to accommodate for the fact that I'm not starting all the way up here, and also have very tiny wrists, so that worked for me. I removed 2 sets of ribbing repeats from it, and then I did 1 chart repeat and then started the gusset for the thumb. This I knit to pattern. I did a little bit less length, and same here, I did a little bit less length. I think in her pictures hers come all the way up here, but again, I just wanted to make sure they were really practical. I use these for driving in the morning. It's a little bit chilly. I love these. Perfect amount of warmth, and it's still, you know, useful. I don't have to be taking my gloves on and off to get things done. So overall, I think these are beautiful. So yeah, this is my little project. This is also the project that I take to work right now. So this is what I work on during my lunch or breaks or things like that. So it's coming along really well. And I started these, let's see, on January 25th. So yeah, I remember I finished this first mitt in like 4 or 5 days. I was obsessively knitting on this because I was just so challenged and intrigued by this cable pattern. It was just new and exciting. So I'll be finishing these will definitely be done by the next podcast. Project cost for this. The Suri retailed for $32 and the organic merino for $30. So $62 if I can do math. However, these mitts will only use about half of the yarn. The other half of the yarn is going to be used for a little neck scarf. Also from Sari's book, the Terpistore, I believe it's called, just a little cabled neck scarf. I feel like those, again, are practical. They're little layering pieces for me. I'm big on layering pieces, again, so that way I don't overheat. But that is my second project. And my third is actually a sweater. I forgot to mention, I'm using 3.5 millimeter needles per pattern. I did not swatch, like it'll be fine. So I'm using 9-inch circulars, which I just happen to already have in my collection. I don't like DPNs. I don't like magic loop. I did use DPNs for the thumb because I have a set of 3.5 millimeter DPNs, and I definitely made some mistakes, but we'll see if they bother me enough to go back and fix them. But yeah, I'll use tiny circulars, and then if that's not possible, then I'll use magic loop, but it's not my preference. Next, we will move over to my sweater project. I am making the Seaway Pullover by Ozetta in the most oceany color that you can imagine. Let me try and... Okay, so here's what I have so far. I have a pair of circulars as the stitch holder over here, but I have made the back, and I'm currently I finished this front panel, working on the right front panel right now. So it has these beautiful, I don't know if the texture is going to come along. I think that's pretty good. These beautiful loose cables. They're just right leaning 3x3 cables all around, all over. So it makes it look like the ocean. So that's the inspiration for the name. The yarn that I'm using is Ulla and Leah Baby Camel in the color, I believe it's Deep Harbor Blue or Dark Harbor Blue. And then I have the Knitting for Olive Mohair in Deep Petroleum Blue. So they pair wonderfully. They make a really soft, beautiful fabric. I think I can wear this next to skin. It's just really nice. The gauge is a bit loose. It is done on 5mm needles. So I guess like a DK weight fabric on 5mm needles. I think it works well with the mohair. I don't think that her recommended yarn is a mohair. I think it's more of like a rustic yarn that's recommended. I did hit gauge with 5mm needles. Again, they tell you to measure gauge over the cabled pattern. I have a really hard time measuring gauge on textured or patterns instead of just stockinette. So we shall see. For sizing, I am making a size 1 that should have a 36-inch bust. So that should be 2 to 3 inches of positive ease for me. We'll see how that turns out. I'm still working on figuring out all these gauge things. I do know that my row gauge is already bigger than the pattern because my panels have measured a little bit longer than what she recommends in the pattern. But I think it'll be fine. I do prefer a little bit less positive ease in my sweaters. Have I mentioned that? I probably have mentioned that. I feel like I'm a broken record sometimes in my mind. But I prefer less positive ease. So we'll see exactly how much positive ease it gives me. But yeah, it's also a drop shoulder construction. This one has worked a little bit different, that you shape the back with short rows as opposed to with increases on the side. So I hadn't done this technique before. The Acorn Pullover that I was showing you, that one's shaped with increases. I'm not sure which one I like most yet, but so far both of them have been looking good so far. So here we go. This is my last work in progress. So I'm still on my very first balls of yarn. So we'll see how much I end up using. Those are all 3 of my works in progress. For acquisitions, I don't have anything new that has come in. I should have posted my yarn inventory video prior to this one. So everything that's in there, that's just what I have. I am planning on making a yarn purchase. I have been eyeing the Ruby and Roses Downton Abbey collection that she has coming up. Specifically this brown colorway. I don't remember the name. I'm going to pop up the picture that she has on her Instagram. I just started watching Downton Abbey. I've been wanting to watch it for a long time. It's right up my vibe. I either like very historical dramas or fantasy vampire witch situation dramas. So I have got through the first episode of Downton Abbey and I've been loving it. I really enjoyed it so far. So I am planning on getting some yarn in that specific colorway. She hasn't even finished revealing all the colorways at the time that I'm filming this, but right now that's the one that has caught my eye. I'm thinking maybe like a Sophie Shaw inspired scarf, because it's such a simple pattern. I was like, I like the math of being able to make simple patterns like that for myself. Definitely not for as a pattern designer, but maybe like something inspired on that, so that the variegation can really shine, and just something fun and squishy. I have one scarf and I think they are very useful layering pieces for me. So that's my intention of purchasing for the month of February. I don't have any yarn orders that should be arriving. Oh, actually, I do. I have a drops order coming in. I've heard a lot about drops because, you know, it is such an affordable yarn brand. But I didn't want to commit to full project quantities yet. So I ordered like one skein of various of their different yarns, like their baby merino, their alpaca silk. I have heard that their silk mohair is a bit scratchy, and just knowing how sensitive I am, I'm like, I'm not even going to go there. But I have heard that their alpaca silk is nice. So I got a ball of their alpaca silk, a ball of the drops bell. I have, I think, like maybe 6 or 7 balls, single balls coming in. I try to make them in colorways that I could actually use or maybe pair with other things in the case that I did like the yarn. So that should be arriving pretty soon. So we'll see if I actually like those yarns, and we'll see how that goes. So I think that should be the only yarn order that I have coming in, and then maybe that purchase that I will make from Ruby and Roses. Okay, so that's all I have to share with you guys today. Thank you so much for making it this far, for watching, for accompanying me. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, stick around. I'd love to have you and be a part of this little knitting community online. Of course, let me know any comments, suggestions, anything like that you have for me. I hope the lighting and the audio is okay. We're still figuring all of this out, but I will see you soon. Thank you. Bye.